Hello, my Teaserking family. Well, I know that took a while. I didn't have audio. Yeah, sometimes it's YouTube. It does that where you get the that comes on, but I can see down at the bottom all the little dots are lit up, and I know I don't have audio, so it's very hard to give you an audio. Found a new video with Mark with alligator. It's the same talk. I just want to hear the gold one. Um, he asked his silver money, and he says legally it is. He just rumbles on, but it's the same thing at the last video. Gets on all these shows and repeats himself, and he keeps saying it's not gold going up; it's the dollar going down, which is total bullshit. It's not just the dollar going down; it's the demand. More people are buying it, which he doesn't see. Like when we go buy 5 ounces here and 2 ounces there and quarter ounces, it doesn't get registered. So that's the problem. All right. So I see I'm a little bit freezing, but okay. So let's look at our baseball from yesterday. A little bit of a rough day. We have Philadelphia, who blows a 7-5 lead and loses 8-7 to Pitt. So we lose that game. We do hit Washington over 9.5. We hit the Yankees 6-1. Garrett Cole's looking good. The Tigers, Toronto, we had under 7.5. The score's 5-2. Of course, since we needed the under, they give up a 2-run homer in the 8th inning. If we needed the over, they wouldn't have given up the 2-run homer. Detroit's a lot of 8-9-run games, and they're poisoned. So that's why I don't, I only played them for 2 units, but I don't trust them. Even with Flaherty with the 3-1-3 and Bassett with the 3-7-1, you would have thought they wouldn't get a lot of runs. And I don't know where Detroit's getting 5 runs from. San Diego under 7.5. So winner, they lose 7-0. It's funny. You don't care how it happens. Like I don't care if San Diego wins 7-0 or Cleveland wins 7-0. Just stay under 7.5. We played the METS, Jets. Sean Manaea looked like a pig, and they lose. St. Louis was postponed. Baltimore under 7.5. Burns against Evalde, a 238 and a 336. Well, Burns does his thing, holds them to 1 run, but Evalde didn't do his thing, and Baltimore puts up a 9. Baltimore and Philly are really hard to play under because they can just score. KC, they win 7-1. I have KC. I didn't play the 49ers. That was a 10.5 over. Colorado wins 7-3, but I laid away from it. I have Houston. Oakland wins 13-3. JP Sears. Oakland's been hitting the ball lately. I have Houston laying 3 because we bet against a weak pitcher and it wins. I just thought Houston was a better team. And Boston over 8.5 loses. The Dodgers win 4-1. Where was Boston's hitting? So that was yesterday. So I go 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 4-4, 5-4, 5-5. So I go 5-5. I do lose a 2 unit with the Tigers, and I lose a 5 unit with Baltimore. So it's a break-even day. For Tampa, Nestor Cortez 4-8 with the 3.67. For the Yankees, the Yankees won yesterday. Bradley's 4-4 at 290. Let's take a look at him. The Yankees are a big favorite. I notice a lot of pitchers are from either California, Georgia, Florida, or like Latin America, Dominican Republic, Venezuela. Just interesting. The weather's warmer, so they're playing baseball there. Europe doesn't play baseball. That's the thing with soccer. Well, it's the number one sport. Yeah, that's because it's the only sport played in most of these countries, and that's why. So the good athletes don't have anything. They can't play football or basketball, so they end up playing soccer, which is why the U.S. always loses in soccer because their good athletes are playing football and basketball. There really isn't the Willie Mays type players in baseball anymore. The real uh, fast, powerful guys. They're all playing basketball, like LeBron. LeBron should have probably played football as a tight end. Plays basketball. He doesn't want to get hurt. And then, but baseball, I don't know if he's any good at. Baseball is really hard because you got to hit. Like Michael Jordan, he was no baseball player. That was just because of gambling, and he had to leave, and he made a circus out of baseball. But what was he doing playing baseball for? What a joke that is. Will Chamberlain probably could have played. All right, so let's look at the last 5 games for what's his name? For Ty Bradley. All right, he 7 innings shutout to Cleveland, which is good. 6 innings, gives up 2 runs to Texas. 5 innings, he shuts out Washington. 5 innings, 2-hitter with 1 run to Seattle. 6 innings, 2. He had 1 bad game where he gave up 9 to Baltimore. There's that Baltimore, and 5 to Boston. So take those out. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs. So he is a very good under pitcher. And Nestor Cortez, let's see his last 5. The Nestor, he's from Cuba. So normally they're always good from Cuba. That was the joke. Like getting a Russian hockey player, you knew you were going to be in the playoffs, and getting the Cuban players were always good for some reason. Well, let's see. This guy goes 4 innings, 5 runs, 6 innings, 1 run, 4 innings, 3, 7 innings, 3, 6 innings, 0. So his last 4 of his last 3 of his last 5 has been 3, 3, and a 5, and he's only gone 4 innings. He shuts out Baltimore, 3 to Atlanta, 3 to Toronto, 1 to Boston, and 5 to Tampa. So not really good his last 4 games. So when we look at this, his 3, 6, 7 is more like a 4, and Ty Bradley's is more like a 2. So the Yankees aren't going to do much. I think Tampa's a live dog here, although I don't think they hit. Tampa Bay, 4.32 ERA and a 2.36 batting average, so they're pretty weak. And the Yankees with a 3.43 ERA and a 2.47. So the starters say probably a low-scoring game, but when you get to the bullpen, Tampa doesn't hit. The Yankees hit, but they won't hit. Bradley, boy, I hate to go under with the Yankees, but good bullpen. I don't think the Yankees will score much in this game, but I don't want to bet Tampa to win it. They don't hit enough. So we're going to go under. Let's go T-Bay under 8.5. And we'll just make this for 2 units. This is a hard game to bet. I don't know if I'm in Vegas, I'm betting the game, but just for this, my gut says Bradley, will probably shut him out or get 1 run, and the Yankees will probably score 10. But let's go under 8.5. They didn't score. I think the Yanks won 7-0 or something yesterday. So I don't think Tampa. I think they keep a game very low scoring, and they don't do much. All right, St. Louis and Atlanta. Now this was rained out yesterday, so this is probably a doubleheader today. Atlanta's a 145 favorite, 8.5 in Atlanta. Kyle Gibson 7-3 with the 416 against Charlie Morton, 5-5 with the 407, 8.5. Let's see. So I got all these updated stats. Atlanta hits two. That can't be 294. Probably 249 or two. What am I becoming claustrophobic in my old age? Probably 249. It can't be 294. And no, it's 294 is the ERA. My apologies. The batting average is 241. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a clear 294. I'm going, how the hell are they hitting that? Yeah, but look in the right column there. All right. So 240 batting average is good, but it's been coming down. It was 250, 244, 243, 241. That's even though I'm getting the new one, I am keeping the old one so I can see the trend. So they have not been hitting well. And a 294. So they're actually a good under team, Atlanta. And so Charlie Morton with the 407, you got to wonder. And then Kyle Gibson 7-3 with the 416. And St. Louis hits 245 with the 3.50 ERA. So hard to say there. I mean, this is the problem. It can go either way. The starters make it an over, good bullpen. They hit. Atlanta's an under team. I'm just leaving. There's too many contradictory trends to look at. You like when all the lights are green, not when you get a green, red, green, red. Detroit, Toronto. Detroit is playing very well. The two shocking wins against the Dodgers where they scored 5 runs in the bottom of the ninth to tie it. And then the next day, the reliever comes in and doesn't know what he's doing and throws 2 errors and loses the game. The guy should be out of baseball. I would get rid of him. I mean, if you can't handle the pressure, what I can't trust you. I can't put you out. What's the point? Reese Olson 4-8 with the 3.33 against UC Kakuki for Toronto. 4-8 with the 4.42. I don't know. Detroit's been hitting. Reese Olson, he's 4-0 with the 3.30. His ERA's been going up. Let's go over here just because Detroit has been hitting the ball lately, and it's over 8, and we'll go 2 units because we can't trust Detroit. The Angels in Oakland, the Oakland got 13 runs yesterday. Oakland minus 145 and 9. The game's in Oakland. Hey, Grega. Jack Kowalski, never heard of him. 0-1 with a 12 ERA. Sounds like a major leaguer to me. Mitch Spence, 5-6 with the 4.75. We got to go over here. Oakland's hitting the hell out of the ball. Oakland over 9. Yeah, let's go 3 units. They put up 13 runs yesterday, and they put up like 20 against, what was it, Boston or the Yankees or something? When are you going to do when the Hulkster run? Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting about baseball there, Greg and John. So let's go over 9. Oakland is the favorite, but these pitchers suck. The Mets in Miami. Now, we had the Mets with a pretty good pitcher yesterday, and they lost, I think, because of their bullpen. And if we look at the bullpen, it's a 422. So it's a weak bullpen, and they are hitting against Miami, who is really a Z team. They're hitting 234 with a 3.97 ERA. Bad. They're 34-63. So yeah, it's warm for a 4:10 game in Miami in July. Is crazy. Luis Servino 6-3 with a 3.78 for the Mets, and Rodney Munoz 1-4 with the 5.47 for Miami. Now what are you going to do? Again, take the Mets, maybe go over. Well, let's try the Mets one more time. They got the better pitcher, but we'll go 2 units. So you notice how we're going from 3 units down to 2 units with some of these. Probably not the greatest play, but Servino 6-3 with the 3.78, so I don't mind that. You don't listen, Greg and John. I said football. I'm not giving out football picks. This is baseball. There's a little difference. So in baseball, I'm giving the picks. This is what the football class will look like. I'll go through the games and give out the picks. However, this is baseball, so we're still doing baseball because it's really hard to pick. I don't want you guys to bet a lot on it. It's very difficult. It's too much averages where football is different. So yes, baseball picks, yes. Football picks, no. And let me see. I just got to see something. So 12,000 rubles are $136. Daria has to take some tests at a clinic, and it's 12,000 rubles, and then you go and it's 88 rubles to the dollar, so it's like $130. You're like, oh, who cares? All right, so we're gonna go with the Mets. Football is easier. Well, it's a little different dichotomy. The NFL flag football, who gives a shit? Okay. Well, the football is different because as I explained, you get Patrick. All right, that's there. So, like I said, with football, the easier part is you're not really dealing with averages as much, a little bit, but you're really looking at like total points. So, if it's a good defense, it's not really it's kind of an average, but you can see that what they can do. And once in a while, it's a high scoring game, but usually it's good defense. Like the Baltimore Cleveland game, two good defensive teams, and it was like 34-31. But generally, it's you can see the defense, like in the playoffs, you're getting strong defense. And then you always have Mahomes, where in baseball, you got different pitchers and it's every day. Players get tired and everything. So we will see that. So right now, let's go Philly and Pitt. Philly blew a 3-run lead late and lost 8-7. Philly minus 175.9. Christopher Sanchez 7-4 with the 296 against Luis Ortiz 4-2 with the 284. Do we dare go under? Let's look at this Ortiz guy. And he's a regular pitch. Well, he's a bullpen guy and a regular, so he's not as under as we think. He pitched 5 innings, gave up a run to Colorado. At Colorado, that's really impressive. Pitched 4 innings, gave up 6 to Tampa. 6 innings, gave up a run to Cincy. 6 innings, gave up shutout the Mets. 5 innings, gave up a run to the White Sox. So maybe we can go under. And boy, I hate going under. I mean, these are two low scoring, so we'll go Philly under. But again, I don't like it because Philly, they're explosive, but Pitt isn't. So we'll go 3 units, Philly under 9, and hold our breath there. Cincinnati, Washington, we had Washington over 9, and it won. They played a big run. Cincy's 115-8. Nick Lodolo 8-3 with the 333. Mackenzie Gore 6-8 with the 401. And Nick, I don't know. This is a tough one. Let's go over. Cincy over 8. And we'll go 2 units on that. Baltimore, Texas. So with 2 good pitchers, it still went over. And one of the pitchers was, I don't know. Oh, we got Scherzer today. Okay. Grayson Rodriguez, 11-4 at the 388 against Scherzer, 1-2 at the 296. Let's try it again. This time we'll say Texas under 8, and this will be our 5-unit play. Scherzer, he should be able to keep Baltimore down. If he doesn't, we're just going to bet Baltimore over every game. San Diego, Cleveland, San Diego minus 110-8. Dylan Cease, 8-8 with the 399. Gavin Williams, 0-1 with the 377. We like Dylan Cease. Let's go San Diego. I'm not going to play it. The White Sox and KC. KC beat them yesterday. KC's the 250 favorite, 8.5. Jonathan Cannon, 1-3 with the 441 against Brady Singer, 5-6 with the 320. Let's go KC again, and we'll go 2 units. The reason I'm reducing the units is basically because I know how hard this is. The more I'm doing it, I'm figuring out a lot of things, but I'm realizing it's very hard to actually predict it. So we don't want to lose a lot. When we hit our game, like the Scherzer game, we'll go 5 units. And maybe you just bet the 5-unit games or the 10. I had the 10-unit Houston under 8 with Scherzer against their ace, and it won. So maybe that's what we look for, and those are the real ones we bet. But I'm kind of giving you picks on the other. So KC, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Milwaukee 105, 7.5. Freddie Peralta 6-5 with the 411. Pablo Lopez 8-7 with the 511, and it's 7.5. So we got to go over here. This is crazy. Minnesota over 7.5. We'll go 3 units. But let's take a look. Milwaukee, Minnesota. Um, Milwaukee hits 255, Minnesota 254. Milwaukee has a 3.35 ERA, Minnesota 3.51, and the starting pitchers are 4 and 5. So this looks like an over. Uh, you know, we'll go 3 units, but I'm tempted to go 5 units. This is exactly what we're looking for. Arizona and the Cubs. We got Arizona 145 and 8. Zach Gallen 6 and 5 with the 3.87. Kyle Hendricks 2 and 7 with the 6.78. And he's pretty bad. Let's go Arizona here. And we'll go 2 units. Boston, the Dodgers. We thought it was over. Boston didn't show up. LA wins. Let's see. We got Brian Bello 10 and 5 with a 5.32. Justin Wobalewski 0 and 1. Okay, so we're going over again. LA over 9, and we'll go 3 units. And hope Boston wakes up today. But there should be high scoring anyway. St. Louis at Atlanta, game 2. Sonny Gray, 9 and 6 with the 3.34 against Bryce Elder, 1 and 3 with the 5.71. And the second, let me say hi to Jenna. So Sonny Gray against Bryce Elder, 1 and 3 with the 5.71. Sonny Gray's been better. He lost his last game. So let's just watch on this because these guys are just getting back. Bryce Elder, I don't know. Cardinals, let's see. Atlanta is a 240 batting average, 294. So a really good bullpen. St. Louis, 245 batting average and a 350 bullpen. So it's not bad. And I'm noticing the team averages are all like in the 230s, 240s. There's a couple that are the White Sox are still 220. Colorado is at home 264, on the road 225. That's insane. Detroit's got a whopping 234 batting average and 227 for Oakland, but it doesn't look like it. It's been on the rise. It was 219, 224, 227, and Pitt 231. So most are like, the lowest are 220, but there's a lot of upper 230s and then 240s, 250s. So they're starting to hit better, which means it's skewing the average because the average was 220. Now they're hitting 230, but it's like they were hitting 260. So you can just go by the scores. But again, all that's matchup. It's who they're playing. It's who's pitching against them. If the teams you're playing don't have good pitching, you're going to hit better. So we will see, because we know there's only maybe 15 major league pitchers playing right now, a lot of minor leaguers, so it inflates the stats. So we're going to pass St. Louis, Atlanta, the 49ers, and Colorado. Now at Colorado, they're a much more explosive team. They scored 10 yesterday and Colorado won. We got the 49ers are 185. Logan Webb, 7 and 7 with the 3.47 against Kyle Freeland, 1 and 3 with a 6. Can Frisco, do they hit? They hit 244 at the 4. I think we can get over here. So let's go Colorado over 10. We'll play this for 2 units. I think the Niners can hit. Freeland's 1 and 3 with a 6 ERA, and they don't have much of a bullpen. Colorado's bullpen, and I should do this home and away. 5.83, so it's pretty bad, which I'm sure it's a lot weaker at home. But I think the Niners can score a touchdown here, and I think Colorado can score a touchdown. Logan Webb, 7 and 7, 3. So this game should be in the 14-15 range. And our last game, Houston, Seattle. We had Houston yesterday. Houston got the win. We got Frammer Valdez 8-5 with the 3.66 for Houston, and George Kirby 7-7 with the 3.29. I ain't fucking with Houston under 7. Sorry. I think I'll go. Well, Seattle can't hit again. It's a situation where I'm looking at the team going, Houston, good pitcher, can hit way better than Seattle. So I'm going to go Houston again. Here's where I kind of go off script. I'll go 2 units. I just look at Houston, and it's like I'm not going under with Altuve. And over under is 7. It's like taking Colorado under. Prime, he can, they score and they have no defense. How the hell do you play him under? Now, maybe in a 77 total, but in a normal game, Colorado, you can't play under. They don't have defense and they can score. So that's kind of what Houston is. They're like a good over team, although they have good pitching. So I think you can take them. All right, so let's look at what we've talked about, and then we'll get into a little alligator, which I think is what Greg John's looking for. Tampa Bay under 8.5, 2 units. Detroit over 8, 2 units. Oakland over 9, 3 units. The Mets 2 units. Philly under 9, 3 units. Cincinnati over 8, 2 units. Texas under 8 is the play of the day, 5 units. Kansas City 2 units. Mini over 7.5, 3 units. Arizona 2. The Dodgers over 9, 3, Colorado over 10, 2, and Houston 2. And if you notice, a lot of the 3-unit games are 2-unit games. We're just trying to protect ourselves just because it's the first week back from the All-Star. So they have all been out. So let's get some rhythm, and we'll start a little heavier on Monday. And, like the game like Minnesota over 7.5, it's too they hit too well, and their bullpens aren't that strong, and the starters aren't that strong that doesn't taking advantage of it. Yeah. The Houston game is just they're a better team. Seattle doesn't hit enough. Good pitcher for Houston, good pitcher for Seattle, but I think Houston wins the game, and the Dodgers over. It's just 2 bad pitchers going. So that's your baseball for today, and it starts at 1:40, so you have over an hour for that one. Let's go to the Sun Belt. I was talking about that yesterday. I like to do like one conference. We've done the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, so we're going to go Sun Belt, and then we'll get to to Alligator. I showed you Mark McGwire and Alligator yesterday. Basically, they say the same thing. Well, Mark McGwire keeps saying BRICS will go to a gold-backed currency in October. Alligator doesn't know. His sources aren't as good as Mark McGwire's. Mark McGwire told us that it was going to do it in April, and it didn't. So it's definitely going to be rolled out now. So we'll see. So that's really the point is she's you're getting 2 different points of view. Who do you trust? And we'll see. I mean, Mark says, oh no, we know gold-backed currency is coming. We believe it'll be in October. China's view on it is we want the U.S. to collapse, then we'll come out with gold-backed currency. We don't want to be the reason the U.S. collapses. We don't want them to say, hey, you collapsed us. Russia doesn't care because you're sanctioning the hell out of them, and now you're sanctioning the hell out of China. So I think it'll be okay. India's been buying gold, even though they're really Keynesian and they're not into gold. Even though it's not into gold, we'll see. But that's what we're seeing. So you know what? Let's do this this alligator interview I found, and then we'll do the Sun Belt Conference, and we can go through week one of the pros. Okay, so I'm watching alligator. And he's talking, I don't know who the guy is. It's pretty similar to what we looked at yesterday. I mean, he goes on one show and he goes on another show and says the same thing. It's not the dollar, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down. China's not really buying gold, they're selling dollars. Well, what are they selling the dollars? What do they buy? Gold. What the fuck's he talking about? This is why I think he's delusional. And then he says, well, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down. Well, it is, but it is demand driving the price up. So yes, the dollar's going down. That's why Coca-Cola's $2.99 for a 2 liter is the dollar going down, not Coke going up. However, you still have, if the demand for Coke was there, you wouldn't see buy 3, get 1 free, right? So I don't, it's still demand, and that's why I show you Rolex and the Mantle cards are, because it's still demand raising the price. It's both. It's not just the dollar going down, because that doesn't make sense. Then all the other prices would be going up too. So that's really not what's happened. Okay, so this is alligator. I see him yesterday. So supply and demand for gold.
Credit the U.S. government. I'm not. Very interesting breakdown there. Let's talk about the gold supply-demand scenario currently. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on central bank buying. Obviously, this has been a big story over the last few years. We recently saw Uzbekistan actually add to its gold reserves. That story continues to play out.
How does he pick that country? All the countries are doing it.
Continue to be. What are the other main demand drivers versus the current supply? Okay, let's talk central banks first. The People's Bank of China has been buying gold, but actually it hasn't been buying gold, it's been selling dollars. It's been reducing its dollar commitment. Now, as to whether it's frightened about the future value of the dollar, or whether it is merely in line with the Communist Party's meme of reducing the involvement of the dollar, you can pick either of those reasons. When we look at the other central banks, predominantly in Asia, who have been accumulating gold, again, I think there are these twin reasons. They can see that the geopolitics is actually working against the dollar. So the dollar's value is likely to decline on that basis alone over time. Furthermore, they can see, they will know, they have the inside track. They have these sort of quiet meetings to which we are not privy. Amongst the monetary panjandrums, if you like, in the Asian central banks, knowing that they're moving towards a gold standard. It's probably some way off, but obviously you need to accumulate some gold. Now, India is very interesting in this because India has denied gold. India has been Keynesian in its approach to economic management. And I think that also includes, sort of a sort of semi-official view that gold is a pet rock. But that has now changed. The government is now accumulating gold. Why? Because they're a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. They're privy to the conversations, and they know that that's the direction in which it's going. They don't want to be first going there, but they know that they would be complete idiots not to accumulate some gold, even if they hope the problem will go away. So that, I think, is what's happening at the central bank level.
Okay, so here's where I struggle with alligator. The real reason is the inflation. As I say, you printed all this money. You can't stop the inflation because you printed it, right? The money is gone. You printed $150 trillion. How the fuck is that going to be settled? It can't be. So he's calling it geopolitical, which means What he's saying is people are de-dollarizing. They're de-dollarizing because of the heavy inflation, but he doesn't understand what inflation is. It's printing the money. And that devalues it. So why do you want to hold it? That's why the central banks are buying gold, but it escapes him. So this is where I'm really confused by Alligator not understanding fucking inflation. Really, really is insane. So that's where I'm at with him. So the real reason that anybody is accumulating central bank is because the dollar's losing value. They got to get out of the dollar, and the gold just is like what we're doing. Inflation is there, it's real, and it's much higher because you can't really measure it by percentage. And the second reason is BRICS is buying gold. So if India wants to be in BRICS, they need gold. But that's the real reason is the inflation. So he doesn't even get that. I'm really beginning to lose interest in Alligator.
Now, at the market level, we have seen for well over a decade now that the Chinese in particular have been stripping gold out of Western vaults, out of Western mines, whatever. They have been accumulating gold. I have a copy of, in English, of the original articles appointing the People's Bank of China to act for the Chinese nation in the accumulation of gold and silver. And that was dated in 1983. Now, since then, there's been massive investment inflows and in through the 80s and in the 80s, massive and growing through into the 2000s as well and beyond, growing export surpluses. Now, all the foreign exchange transactions are handled by the same organization, the People's Bank of China. So all those flows go across their desk. Now, if you're old enough to remember how central banks, how conservative individuals, non-speculating individuals, those who wanted to protect their wealth for the long term, how they looked at gold, and this would include the Chinese, they reckoned that you should have somewhere between 10 and 15% of your money in gold, and the rest is credit for you to, do whatever,
Again, he's struggling. This is what he means by credit, fiat currency. I don't know why he can't call it fiat currency. He's calling it credit. This is the credit he's talking about. Again, confusing everybody. I don't know what the fuck he's doing this for, but when he says credit, he means dollars.
Buy houses, buy
idiot.
Buy expensive yachts or whatever. That's the Arab approach. And I think that if you just take that 10% and you look at the cross-border flows, firstly, the big capital inflows in the 80s, and then the growing surpluses with continuing inflows, the amount of stuff crossing the PBOC's desk, you take 10% of that at contemporary prices. And remember, this was a bear market that took the gold price down to $250 in 2002. Then I reckon that was over 20,000 tons. That's
okay. Again, he doesn't understand paper versus physical. It's not a bear market. It's not anybody selling. It's the derivatives that kept the price low. It's a price fixed. It's communism of the market being run by the government, not the people. There's no such thing as a bear market when it's price fixed, right? The government wanted the price lower. It was lower. It's fixed. It's not supply and demand. So again, he doesn't understand paper versus physical, price fixed versus free market. This guy's losing his mind.
A substantial amount of gold, the largest, in fact, of anywhere in the world. Interestingly, I mean, this is speculation on my part, but in support of this speculation, bear in mind that the Chinese rapidly invested in their gold mining industry to the point where gold mining became the number one gold mining nation by output, really quite rapidly.
If we notice, he can't answer the question. He's rumbling on. The question is something about gold, and he's talking about China, developing and this and that. Like, answer the fuck. There was a question on silver he did. And it takes him 10 minutes to answer the question, and the answers the question is silver still money? And it took him 10 minutes. Well, it's a 6 minute thing, and it takes him 10 minutes to answer the question. And the answer is yes, it is. It's always been. It's not priced there. Well, again, it's price fixed down for the people to use for the Tomahawk missiles and the electric cars and the solar panels. So it's been the price is down so they can buy it. Now I would imagine it's all been bought because it's been low for a while and it's going up. But again, he can't answer a question. It's like, is the sky blue? Well, let's talk about the sky. The sky was, it used to be under Roman law. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Right. Have been ever since. Remember also that gold going into China never gets out. I mean, I referred to...
It does too. I've seen some at the gold
Swiss
store.
Refiner, director of the Swiss refinery, who I had a conversation with. One of the other questions I asked him is, have you ever seen any Chinese refined bars? And he said, no, we never see them. In other words, I mean, I asked him the same question about 7 years later, and he said, well, it's been reported a few, but we think they were smuggled out of China. So in other words, China is Hotel California for gold. It goes there and you never see it again, okay? Also, coincidentally, in 2002, the Shanghai Gold Exchange came into operation, which permitted Chinese citizens to accumulate gold as well. And indeed, the state advertised on television, buy gold, it's good for you, or whatever the byline was. So you can see that the Chinese approach to gold is that this is money. This is the ultimate form of money. It is the ultimate protection we have against the West. And at some point, we may have to deploy it. This is a very, very important point to understand. Now, contemporary. Let's look at the contemporary situation. Incidentally, the Chinese population, which is 1.2 billion people, have accumulated roughly 27,000 tons of gold if you just go on what's been withdrawn from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. There's also a certain amount of gold flows from Hong Kong. When tourists from China go in, they buy gold in Hong Kong, which is sales tax free, and they can just walk in, and nobody actually stops them going into China. So, you can see government policy is extremely gold friendly. Now, let's get up to date. If you look at the savings ratio in China is over 40%. But more importantly, the house.
See, again, it's the same story he keeps telling. That China saves, China saves, China saves. So I don't know what to do with this guy. You could have him on last week. He was on Mark McGuire. It's the same story. It's the same story. And he keeps with this stupid, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down. But so riddle me this, Batman, when gold goes from 2480 down to 2400, is the dollar going up? I mean, it's such bullshit. Yes, we understand. That was my point. Gold was 37 an ounce, and now it's 2400. It's the value of the dollar dropped, making the gold price go up. However, there's a second part of that. That is true. The dollar's not worth anything, but there's a point where the dollar doesn't go down anymore. It's at zero. And therefore, then it becomes the demand, because everybody realizes the dollar is worthless and they're all getting off the Titanic. So then there's this whole run to buy gold, which is what's happening in China. Why are they buying gold? I mean, come on. So they're not stupid. So that's the other part of it. Wonderful news for you. What's that? Anyway, so that's really what it is. It's it is the dollar. You need more dollars to buy the gold, but it's not all that. It's also there is the extra demand of the people realizing that the gold is going down and or that the dollar's going down is one of the things. But then if 5 people do it, it's one thing. If 50 people do it, the price goes up. If 5 million people do it, the price is obviously going to go up. Not just because, but again, keep in mind it's price fixed. So once we get rid of a communist price fixed paper market and into a free market, Austrian free market, where we can see Rolexes at $500,000 and Montana card at $125,000. Once we see that with gold, then it'll be a different thing. All right, let's look at a few more minutes of this, but it's just fucking repeat, and it's a waste of time.
In other words, this is just households. These are individuals who are saving, if you like, their own earnings, their own profits.
So wouldn't that drive the price of gold up if more people are buying it?
Of China's GDP,
like any other product?
That is roughly $6 trillion. So you've got $6 trillion of savings.
We get
going
it.
into property, stocks. It can't go into foreign currencies because there are exchange controls.
So the other problem is, unfortunately, if I go buy 100 tons of gold from the gold store, which the guy would fall over, that doesn't affect the price. The only thing that affects the price are these derivatives, right? So if they do derivatives up and the price goes up because they take ownership, that's what moves the price, not all these people buying it doesn't move the price, or the price would be a lot higher, right? So you're still getting hit with these derivatives down, but it's over his head. He doesn't understand
that's not permitted. And it goes into bank accounts.
But it doesn't affect the price.
We didn't discuss that. The stock market for the last 3 years has gone down very substantially. It's recovered a little bit this year, but I would suggest that the sort of rather conservative saver in China is not really all that switched on by the stock market. So what do? Well, it's all been accumulating in the banks.
Which is demand, which makes the price go up.
Certificates of deposit,
what an idiot.
Which is slightly different from our CDs. A certificate of deposit in China is basically a deposit of up to 3 years with a fixed rate and a better rate of interest than, let's say, instant withdrawal or 1 month money or whatever. But these banks also offer gold accounts. And this is something which was brought in by law, getting the banks to do this. And it's all part of the gold ownership story, which China is working towards as a means of its ultimate protection from our attacks on China or our attacks on ourselves as we destroy our own currencies. All you need to have is 500 yuan, maybe 600 yuan in some banks. That's the equivalent of about $70 to $80 in order to open a gold account. Now, I don't know whether the banks, match the gold account with physical gold completely. I don't know. I suspect that they probably run a sort of fractional reserve system. I doubt if it's highly leveraged. I very much doubt that because they know the official policy. And I would think they're in the market picking up gold whenever they can. When it's offered, take it. I think that's what they've been doing. And just bear in mind that the alternatives for this $6 trillion equivalent. $6 trillion, incidentally, at current price is 75,000 tons of gold. We're talking a considerable amount of moolah.
So doesn't the moron think that the price of gold should go up if they're buying 75,000 tons, but it went from 2,480 to 2,400? It has no bearing on the price because it's price fixed by the government, not price fixed by the market, or not free market, right? But he's not understanding. This is the problem. He's a stock guy who worked at a bank, is clueless to what inflation is. He thinks it's prices, and then is clueless how a price fixed COMEX derivative paper market works. He doesn't understand it. So this is where I'm really losing patience with this guy. He'll say the same thing. China, well, they don't want to be in stocks and bonds and this and that, so they're in gold. Okay, we got it. We've heard it. So it's like he goes on these interviews, and on the interview, it's the same thing as if, well, I gotta start from the beginning with Joe, and then Phil, I'm going to do the same interview where I start from the beginning, and I explain this, and Steve and Fred and all the people. I'm going to go back to the beginning, but everybody like me going, well, I've heard this. There's no value you're giving me in this anyway. So he's rumbling on. BRICS Alliance accelerating. He doesn't know. There's 40 countries I've read where 40 countries are joining BRICS in October. He's maybe 10. He really doesn't get BRICS. I'd rather get it from Mark McGuire. Is silver still money? Legally, it is. It's not priced at as legal money, but it's legal money. Right now, it's being used for industrial purposes. Doesn't mean it's not illegal, and it's being price fixed so they can afford to make the batteries and the solar panels with the silver. That's the other problem. That's really what's happening. Is they're keeping the price down. So he says it's not priced as money. Well, he doesn't understand derivatives. So I don't know. This guy I'm losing it with. Trends in gold. We know that U.S. economy's in trouble. We know that they're inflating. They're gone. The euro's gone. The dollar's gone. Saudi's threatened to sell EU debt. So really, it's really hard to listen to Mark McGuire or to Alligator. See, this does make sense. Credit, gold and silver are all that survives, but he doesn't really explain that. Here we go. There's a Jess against the Hulkster, but if I play it, I'll get blocked. All right, let me respond to Daria. Okay, so I think we did Mark McGuire yesterday, which explains a lot. Bricks gold standard in October. For some reason, Alligator hasn't heard that news. So how can Mark say yes and Alligator say no? I don't know. Alligator. Well, I think there'll be a gold. Alligator's changed. He's now saying, well, yeah, the gold standard is probably coming. Well, it's coming in October. What do you mean? It's probably coming down the road, and the dollar probably, yeah, the dollar's going out. So I don't really know what to expect from Alligator. I don't know if I can listen to him. It almost sounds like somebody got to him and said, "Hey, you gotta be more supportive of the U.S." is what it sounds like. And Mark McGuire's like not listening to it. When I can tell you, inflation ruins the dollars, right? That's what the Nazis were doing with the Brits. They were counterfeiting it and they were going to dump it on to ruin the pound. But they ended up keeping it and spending it on their own. So that's good. Just 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, so my take on it is gold-backed currencies a must. The U.S. dollars collapsed. There's no way to save it. It's far worse, but because of the election, they're making it sound like, oh, inflation's 2%. We know it can't be because you can't print. Inflation is printing the money. It's not backed by gold. It's worthless. Now, how long does it take to go out? I don't know. Ask the Romans, the British, the French, the Spanish. But inevitably, it goes out. There's no other way around it. And if as soon as the BRICS comes out with the gold-backed currency, it's all done because nobody wants the dollar, but nobody wants the dollar now. That's why I say it's worthless. You can't sell the T-bills. You've got banks in big trouble because they're getting all these repossessions, repos, where they go to, they're not paying their cars and houses. They're defaulting on their loans. Well, banks can't survive. They'll start just stealing the money on bail-ins. And from this, there's really no way out unless you go to gold anyway. And all these countries going to gold, the key is getting out of COMEX, and that'll really help the gold price go. And we'll see. I mean, let's see. Mark McGuire, are you carrying? Oh, yeah, October. We're in July. We're getting 2 months, 3 months away, and then you got an election. So I don't think the dollar collapses before the election, but it will right after. Gold will be announced in October. The dollar will struggle, and then it'll probably go out when Trump's president, right? You won't be able to save it unless you go to gold back. If you don't go on the gold standard, it's nothing's going to happen. So anyway, so let's go through week one of the NFL, and then we'll go through the Sun Belt. So real quickly, week one of the NFL. So I'm on covers.com, and it gives me at least 4 different sports books. These are all bullshit. These are all the online ones, which I prefer, the William Hill in Las Vegas or the Caesars in Vegas. So I'm going to give the best line for which way we want to go. So we start off Kansas City 2.5, 46.5, 47. And I got Mahomes against Lamar. Philly 1.5, 48.5. That's pretty standard. Love against Hurts. I got Chicago 4.5, 43.5. Levis against Caleb. I don't know, Caleb starting. Houston 1.5, 48. Stroud against maybe Richardson. I'm seeing a 2 there. So let's say 2 and 48.5, 48. Buffalo 7, 48 to Arizona. Murray against Allen. Cincinnati 9 and 42. Brissett against Joe Burrow. We got Atlanta 2.5 and 43. That's Russell Wilson against Kirk Cousins. More than likely, unless he's not healthy, then it'll be Penix. I'm more scared of Penix than I am Kirk Cousins. New Orleans 5 and 40.5. That moved from 4.5. Young against Carr. I don't know what they're thinking with Young. He's terrible. Well, he won the Heisman Trophy. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that really matters. Miami 3.5, 48. Trevor Lawrence against Tagliabue. Minnesota and the Giants. I've seen more of the Giants -1, 41.5. I don't think you're taking a team. Probably Darnold against Daniel Jones, two terrible quarterbacks. Denver, Seattle. Seattle 4.5, 42.5. Bo Nix against Geno Smith. San Diego 3.5, 43.5. Minshew against Herbert. Cleveland 144 to Dallas. Prescott in a boot. We'll see if he's ready to go against. I'm not sure if it's Watson or Thompson Robinson. But Watson sucks. You know, you sign these guys to these long 5-6 year contracts. You're out of your mind in football. I would do 2 years. That's it. You don't like it? Go back to the grocery store. And a 44 over under. Tampa 4 and 41.5. Probably Jalen Daniels, LSU against Baker Mayfield. We got Detroit 3.5 and 51. Stafford against Goff. And the Niners 5.5, 44.5. We got Rodgers against Purdy. Very interesting. So that's week 1. The lines haven't moved yet. They'll move more later. I think tomorrow we'll go college. And that's what we have. Our baseball picks again. Tampa under 8.5, 2 units. Detroit over 8, 2 units. Oakland over 9, 3 units. The Mets, 2 units. Philly under 9, 3 units. Cincinnati over 8, 2 units. Texas under 8, 5 units. KC, 2 units. Mini over 7.5, 3 units. Arizona, 2 units. The Dodgers over 9, 3 units. Colorado over 10, 2 units. And Houston, 2 units. Those are baseball. If you want to just pick maybe the Texas game and maybe mini over the Dodgers, there's a few 3-unit games. Throw out the 2-unit games if you want, but I'm just, these are very small bets, so I'm just going through them. All right, let's go through college football. Let's go through the Sun Belt. Here's where you can really make a lot of money because the line's kind of really screwed here. There's an East and a West. App State, James Madison, Marshall, Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion, Georgia Southern, Georgia State in the East, and in the West is Texas State, Arkansas State, Lou Lafayette, South Alabama, Troy, Southern Miss, and Lou Monroe. So there's actually 2 University of Louisiana's not named Louisiana State, LSU. So the first team offense is Jordan McLeod from Texas State. There's a couple of a running back and a wide receiver also from Texas State and 1 defensive lineman. So they look like an over team, Texas State. I'm not going to go through too many of the all Sun Belt team. It doesn't matter. We don't know any of the players, although I do know Jordan McLeod. I've kind of followed him. He's very good. He was on a different team last year. Okay, so App State, Joey Aguilar, good quarterback, is back. The final analysis, this is one of more consistent programs in the G5. I hate that. It's hard to see many concrete reasons why App State shouldn't be one of the Sun Belt better teams. The strength, their offensive line will allow Aguilar and the running backs to control the ground game. Meanwhile, the defense should be decent again, although there is some room for so. They're a good team, App State. They got Clemson early on, so they got Eastern Tennessee State. So that's week 1's a joke. Then at Clemson, and then and the rest is in conference. So James Madison, I think, is their biggest thing. So they should do pretty well. Just the at Clemson game. and they're getting them right after the Georgia game. So they could be a little pissed because Georgia's going to beat the shit out of them. Coastal Carolina, their quarterbacks, Ethan Vasco, never heard of him. He's a new one. Tim Beck is a first-year coach. Was 8-5 last year. App State has a guy named Sean Clark, who's 35-18 so he's good. Coastal Carolina, their new coach, was 8-5 last year. Tenure with the Chance started slowly, but picked up some game without Grayson McCall, who we like, and just about all the other names that made Coastal an occasional national headline. It's time for Beck and his staff to try and blaze around bullshit. Let's see. Kansas transfer quarterback Ethan Bass. So this guy was a third stringer at Kansas. Didn't like it. The quarterback graduated being the other guy's always hurt. So he got more chances to play as the season on, throwing 7 touchdown passes and just 1 interception. But a lot of that is a good offense designed by Kansas. They're very good at it. And then there's Michigan State transfer Noah Kim, who sucked. And I know I listened to the Michigan State games. And then Vasco is more of a runner. Well, Kansas has a pretty good option game. So the quarterback's going to be, he's from Kansas. He's probably pretty good. He should have stayed at Kansas because Daniels, their quarterback, is always hurt. He'll go 2-3 games. He'll be hurt. So I think Kansas, but they're prepared. They're back up. I'm sure is getting a lot of playing time. So we'll see. So they're not bad. I'll have to get more into the stats. So I have a stat page that shows, what do I rank them as? Their offense and defense. Are they over or under A or Z? The quarterback, his stats. So now I've added sacks to it. So he'll throw 20 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and he's sacked, 5 times or 35 times. Because I think you got to look at the whole picture. How many times? Because that means he can't read a defense. If he goes back and gets sacked, it's because he doesn't know what to do with the ball. He can't read the defense. He's not really good, like Primetime Junior at Colorado. He gets sacked 52 times. What is that? So he's got the ball, and he's running around trying to buy time to throw it. That's not a play. A play is take 3 steps back, throw it. Take 5 steps back, throw it. Throw a crossing pattern. Throw it out. Throw this. Throw that. Hit the running back. Colorado doesn't have any of that, apparently. He goes back to pass, and he runs around, and that's what I don't like about C.J. Stroud. He doesn't – every pass, he's in the pocket. He runs to his right towards the sidelines and then dumps it. It's miracle plays. It's not – Tom Brady didn't do that. Go back in the pocket, and he throw the ball. Get it out in 2-3 seconds. That's a quarterback, and then what Stroud does is not. All right, Georgia Southern. Clay Helton, 12-14. He used to be the USC coach. Their quarterback's a new one. Dexter Williams, the second, and he's a freshman. That ain't going to be good. When you run as aggressive a passing offense as Georgia State does. So Georgia State, big passing offense, has a freshman at quarterback. Big trouble there. Turnovers are going to happen. However, they clearly have to happen less frequently for the Eagles, whose 31 turnovers were tied with big Nebraska, but shouldn't hit. Okay, so let's look at Davis Brin, the starter in 2023, has moved on. He was at Tulane, I thought. So the job is open with a few viable candidates. Redshirt sophomore J.C. French. Indiana transfer Dexter. So this is an Indiana transfer. He played a little in 2022. They're going to be in trouble. So this is probably going to be a really weak team. They're not going to score a lot, and we'll see. They gave up. Yeah, this is a terrible defense. They gave up 30, 40, 50 points a game last year. Okay. Georgia State. They also have a new quarterback, Zach Gibson, but he's a senior. The head coach is Del McKee. Never heard of him in his first season. This is a Georgia associate head coach. So from our Georgia, the associate head coach, Del McKee, formerly an accomplished high school coach in the state. So they're getting a assistant coach from the Bulldogs to be their head coach. He's never coached. He was good in high school. Okay. Now their quarterback, Zach Gibson, is a Georgia Tech transfer, but he didn't play at Georgia Tech. So this is like the second or third, probably the third string quarterback at Georgia Tech. And so now he transfers to Georgia State because he can't compete. And this is what I warn you about. Is he any good? I mean, he wasn't the starter at Georgia Tech. King is. So you question, oh boy, he's from Georgia Tech, but it's like Googlia Booglia. He sucked at Clemson. He sucked at Oregon State. And he's going to suck at Florida State. You don't get better. If you're good, you're good. And if you're not, you're not. And Oogly Boogly is not good. But this guy, again, he's second or probably third string at Georgia Tech. I think if you're second string, you maybe stay in case the quarterback gets hurt. But I don't get that. They're going to be in trouble because the coach quit during spring practice. Do you imagine spring practice? The coach quits. And then, so here's the new coach. He couldn't recruit. He doesn't have his players. I would assume he'd have the Georgia, try to run the Georgia style, strong offense, strong running, strong defense. But he doesn't have the players for it. So I think Georgia State's going to stink. Here's an example of their defense. They give up 44 to Georgia Southern, 42 to James Madison, 42 to App State, 56 to LSU, 25 to Old Dominion. So, yeah, they're pretty much, they were an over team with the other coach, but again, this is the variable we don't know is the new coach. All right, James Madison. Now, they're really a pretty good team. Bob Chaney, record at the school, his first season. Everybody's gone from last year. So the coach, who was a really good coach, Signotti, is now at Indiana. So we'll keep an eye on Indiana. That move makes sense, going from James Madison to Indiana. But we'll see, because Braum went from Louisville to Purdue, and he didn't do anything at Purdue. And then he goes back to Louisville, and they got this good team. And you're like, why didn't you do that at Purdue? Let's see. Their quarterback, Dylan Morris, he's from TCU or something? Jordan McLeod. Oh, so when the coach left, McLeod went from here. Okay, so that's where I know him. He's now at Texas State. Okay, this is Washington starter Dylan Morris. So not a bad quarterback. They should be okay. The question is the new coach, Bob Chesney. I don't know. Does it say where he comes from? The last thing JMU fans want to see is for their program to lose its momentum after Signotti's departure. Chesney has made a great impression so far, however, JMU lacking the production, returning production, might be hard to overcome initially. But if the Dukes can get within shouting distance, that Chesney had it. Oh, he's coming from Holy Cross. Okay. So how do you rank this guy, right? Coming from Holy Cross, we don't know anything. What are we supposed to do with Holy Cross? This guy calls always at the wrong time. I'll be going in the pool, he called him. He's very frustrating, this guy, because I'll call him and he'll talk for like 2 minutes, and then he's, oh, I'm home, I got dinner, okay, I got to let you go. And you're like, what the fuck was that? What kind of conversation do you have So could you imagine me? Okay, let's do the class, and I go, well, after 2 minutes, well, I gotta go. I gotta go cook dinner. I gotta go to the store. I mean, why do you answer the phone to say I gotta go for 2 minutes? We call him a chucklehead. All right. So we have the Holy Cross coach. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Leopold from Whitewater, whatever, these Division II guys. Brian Kelly was at Lake Superior State, a small college in Michigan. He did very well. He won the national title a few years. Then he goes on to Cincinnati, Central Michigan, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and now he's at LSU. He's a very good coach and very good offensive mind. So you have that. Lance Leopold was good at Buffalo. Now he's at Kansas. He's doing very well. So you don't really know. Wyoming had another one, and he did it. And we'll see what James Madison. He'll start here if he's really good, like he was at Holy Cross. Then he'll move up to Purdue or somewhere. Interesting. So they open with Charlotte. I think they'll be a decent team, but we'll see. Marshall. This season makes a clear-cut make-or-break year for head coach Charles Huff. With 3 postseason chips under his belt, who gives a shit now? If you're 6-6, you go to a bowl. But it's going to be tough to deliver those results. And the Sun Belt Cup seems to get more and more competitive every year. So they're afraid of the Sun Belt Conference. Charles Huff record at the school, 22-17. Why they would schedule Ohio State, I have no idea. It usually makes the team better because they see the real good athletes. And then when they see the rest of their games against these other guys, they're going, oh, this is nothing. We played Ohio State. But I don't know. Their coach or their quarterback, Mitch Griffiths, I've heard of. Seth Dodgy was a quarterback at Toledo. Didn't get drafted. Now he's their offensive coordinator. I don't know if he knows anything. The quarterback competition, especially intriguing. Cole Pennington, son of Chad Pennington, is a player with high expectations, but it remains to be seen if the redshirt freshman is ready. Their herd has 2 impressive transfers. Former Wake Forest starter Mitch Griffith. That's who I've heard him. So he was a Wake Forest starter. He's a senior, so it should be okay. We got to see what kind of defense they have. So they're, this whole Sun Belt, it's App State. We'll see how good James Madison is. Marshall has a good, because the question is the coach and the quarterback. Charles Huff seems to be a decent coach. You got a decent quarterback. We're not going to take him against Ohio State, I guarantee you that. But we'll see how they – and that's what you see is how did they play Ohio State? If they lose 34-17, okay. We can bet on them. If they're 56-0, you don't really learn anything. Old Dominion, they look kind of weak. The Monarchs have a lot of questions heading into the season. Can they stay healthy? Do they have the guy at quarterback? Can they protect him? Can they hit the ground running in conference play? Finding answers is going to be essential if they want to achieve their first winning season since 2016. They were 6-7 last year, 5-3 in the Sun Belt. They lost to Wake Forest 27-24, Virginia Tech 36-17. They did beat App State. They played James Madison close. They got killed by Liberty, who's moved to a different conference. They beat Georgia Southern, Georgia State, and lost to Western Kentucky close in a bowl game. So they were 6-6. Quarterback Grant Wilson is returning starter. We'll have stats on him. So we have to get into the spreadsheet to dig a little deeper. So in the spreadsheet, it tells me, well, what I do on my sheet is the quarterback, so I'm saying is the quarterback new in a transfer or returning. So here's new, they're not transfers. Here's returning. Here's new, Rick Oh, Rich Rodriguez. So I do that for the first week to see what kind of, is my quarterback returning, and there's a lot less learning curve, or is he new? And then if he's a transfer, well, he's probably played before. So we'll see. I try to stay away from the new ones in week one because you don't know if you're getting Joe Montana or Bill Montana. So we will see. This kind of helps a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, I'll use last. So I have all the stuff from last year saying they're a Z team, they're an over team, they're an A team. Here's what their offense and defense did. But I mark in the new coaches. So if you don't have a new coach and you're like an over team, I'm going to assume you're still an over team, like Hawaii, right? Their coach and quarterback are now in year 3 together, and they should be pretty good offensively, no defense. And so you have a good idea of what Hawaii is. They should have changed. But when you get a new coach, like like James Madison, you don't know what to, you don't know what to, it's like a new pitcher, the 0.000 ERA. You don't know what to do with that. So therefore, what do how do you bet it, right? I don't know how to bet a 0-0 pitcher in his first appearance. He could be Cy Young or he could be Bill Young. We don't know. And that's the problem. But when you get to, so it's the same in football. You got a new coach. I don't know. Now, if he came from winning the Division II crown, then I have an idea he's fairly good, and you can go from there. And that's really what we want to see. Anyway, so normally if the more I know, it's like Kansas City. I know how to bet Kansas City with Mahomes and Baltimore with Lamar. It's how do I bet Chicago with Caleb, and how do I bet Carolina with Carolina sucks. New England, new coach, new quarterback, they're going to suck. Arizona had a new coach last year. The Rams, you got Sean McVay, and Stafford, I know they're pretty good. Frisco, is pretty good. Denver, you got Sean Payton, but now you got Bo Nix. So how do we play Denver? I know if this is week 5 and I've seen 4 games of Bo Nix, it's probably an over against Seattle. But we'll have to see. Like Franco Harris said, it's going to be his first game. He's going to be nervous. I was watching the Franco Harris thing yesterday, and he goes and he says, well, he does great in the preseason exhibition, and then he goes and he all of a sudden it's week 1 and he's playing, I think, Dallas or Oakland, and he can't run. There's no run. And then he fumbles in the next week and he gets benched for 3 weeks. And he says, I'm never coming out of the game again because I fumbled, and he did. And but he needed to play in the first few games to get the feel, the new speed, and then sit out a little bit and clear his head and then come back, and he was Franco Harris. And that's kind of why I'm saying Caleb ain't going to do shit the first couple of games. I doubt he'll do anything at all, but you got to see him, as it goes. But in the first few weeks, he's not going to do anything. So that's really what you need to see is how, week 1 with no preseason is going to be really bad. If they don't use Caleb in the preseason, then this coach should be fired right away. We don't want to get him hurt. Well, he's going to suck. So it don't matter if he gets hurt. So that's really what you have and what you have to understand. So that's why, like Bo Nix, you got to be careful with, because he's going to see it. Jalen Daniels should be the quarterback of Washington. The same thing. It's going to take him. But I like Sean Payton a whole lot better than whoever the Washington coach is. Right. So you got to be careful with that. All right. Arkansas State. They should be fairly good. Optimism is understandably high after last season. A talented young quarterback of the team and supporting players. The postseason should once again be the goal. So this is a fairly good team. Jalen Rayner is a sophomore. Butch Jones, we've heard of him. He used to coach Cowboys and Miami. So they have a good coach. Apparently, have a good quarterback. A quarterback, Jalen Rayner, a true freshman in 20. So he's actually an Arkansas State guy. He's a sophomore. He did okay. They had a good year. I'm noticing they're fairly good defensively, except for the Oklahoma game. They lost 73-0. See, that skews it. The 73-0 to Oklahoma, what do you do with it? That makes their defense look bad. But then they gave up 37 to Troy, 27 to Coastal, 24 to Lou Monroe. So this is not a good defensive team. Then they started playing better at the end. They gave up 21 to South Alabama, 31 to Texas State, 35 to Marshall. So it became a kind of a weak defense, but they could score. So they were an over team. And we'll see what the stats are in this Rayner guy. So let's see. Rayner, a true freshman, completed 58% of his passes, which is really weak considering most of these passes now are just to running backs or these short ones to the receiver. 2,500 yards and 17 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. He's not that good. Hate to break it to you guys at Arkansas State. Lou Lafayette, my favorite team. Ben Woolridge, I've heard of him. He came over from somewhere. So the new coach, Michael Sormo, is 13-14 in 2 years. Their old coach, who was really good, went to Florida, where he's not very good. He made a bad move going from Lou Lafayette to Florida, takes the money. Oh, yeah, but you get to play Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky every year. Yeah, probably not a good move. So, yeah, Woolridge was hurt last year, the quarterback, but he played well 2 years ago. Head coach job and replacing Napier was always going to be hard, but 2 losing seasons in a row, fans frustrated. The Cajuns simply have to do a better job of closing out close games. They lost 5 games by a touchdown, so they seem like a pretty good dog. Let's see. Lost at Minnesota 35-24, but Minnesota was terrible. Lost to Ark State. Texas State they beat. So really not a very rough schedule, and they still went 6-6 and played Jacksonville State in a bowl game. This is what I hate. Why is 6-6 considered good? You go to a bowl. Why are these guys going to a bowl? Lou Lafayette against Jacksonville State. Why is that a bowl? Did they have more than 5 people in the stands? It's like girls softball. The only people there are the family. Nobody else cares. All right. So we'll see. They're probably an average team. It's hard to get a guess. South Alabama. Major Applewhite is at the school for 2 years, 15-11. And you can see they score a lot of points, which you would expect. He was a quarterback at Texas, so you would expect a good offense, probably a weak defense. Yeah, so they're a good over team, South Alabama. Gio Lopez, a freshman, is a new quarterback. Redshirt freshman Gio Lopez appeared in 5 games behind Carter Bradley last season. And they win the bowl win over Eastern Michigan. Who cares? He'll be playing behind as he plays his favorite target. Well, okay, so USA or South Alabama. I don't like when they say USA. I don't know who the fuck they're talking about. South Alabama could be a sleeper in the Sun Belt. The Jaguars have a handful of impressive young offensive players, with Applewhite getting another shot at being a head coach. Struck the Jags to once again have a high-scoring offense in the top quarter. Turnovers and penalties have been clearing. So it'll be a high-scoring offense, so that makes it an over team for us. So when they played Georgia Southern, we bet it over. What was the Georgia Southern game? Did they play them last year? No, they didn't play them. This team beat Oklahoma State 33-7. Oh my God. How did that happen? Is that a revenge game? Do we get Oklahoma? No. Well, this year they get LSU. Smart. Good coaching. Good scheduling. Southern Miss. Southern Miss should be terrible. Tate Rodemaker. I don't know who the hell that is their new quarterback. Arguably, the story of Southern Miss offense was the signing of Florida State quarterback Tate. Oh, okay. So he was the backup third stringer to our guy who got hurt at Florida State. Uglia Buglia comes in. So he's not even as good as Uglia Buglia, or he wouldn't transfer. This guy sucks. So that's the thing. Wow, he was a Florida State quarterback. Yeah, but not too good. So Southern Miss should suck. This is an important year for Will Hall and the Golden Eagles. Consecutive losing seasons are exceedingly rare in Hattiesburg, place that used to be bowl trips. With 2 of the 3 seasons at the helm ending with only 3 wins, Hall now has the unenviable task of needing to produce a better team without the talent of Gore in the backfield. So he had Frank Gore's son, was the only player he had. He's 13-24 in 3 years. So basically, Southern Miss is going to suck. They have a bad coach, but they don't realize they have a bad. Why are they? See, I don't understand this. Here's a guy, it's like these baseball players. They're hitting, 89, 100. Okay, you're not a baseball player. Go work at the grocery store. Well, let's give them 3 years to figure it out. Because whatever you saw him hit a ball in high school or something, I don't know what it is. I don't know why you can't just see it and make your decision quickly. See it, make the decision, and off you go. This guy sucks. This guy's good. Same thing with the coach. The coach is terrible. They went 3-9 last year. What is it that you want to see that he sucks? So we'll take advantage of it, and we'll bet against Southern Miss. They open at Kentucky. We'll load up on that one. South Florida, Lou Lafayette, Lou Monroe, Ark State, James Madison. At Texas State, South Alabama. So, again, a pretty weak schedule to really do it. We can load up at Kentucky, and the rest is in conference, but they should suck there. I think anytime you get this team as a favorite, you bet against them. And the quarterback's pretty bad. Texas State. It's hard to remember a time when expectations were this high for Texas State. Head coach G.J. Kinney, he's 8-5. He played 1 year. Now he was a quarterback somewhere. Good offense. Bobcats, and they got a good quarterback. Jordan McLeod was at James Madison. He's a very good quarterback. So look for this team to be very strong over. So again, we're getting a lot of overs in there. They play UTSA, Arizona State. They should be able to compete with Sam Houston, Troy, Ark State, Old D, Lou Lafayette, Lou Monroe, Southern Miss, Georgia State, South Alabama. So they don't have anything. I mean, they have the Arizona State game at home, which they should give Arizona State all they want. We could be getting 20 points in the game. So look for that. They got 8 guys back on offense and defense. Kinney, I think, was a quarterback at Texas Tech or one of those, Baylor or something. So he's not a bad they ran a good offense there. And you got a good quarterback. So look for this team. Troy's not going to be that good this year. I don't like the coach. The coach is from Notre Dame, the offensive coordinator, and he sucked there. I got that highlighted. Former Notre Dame offensive coordinator. I don't see it. Troy's going to be in big trouble. It's tough to say where this program can go. They're going to be terrible. Goose Crowder is the quarterback. Starting quarterback Goose Crowder completed 9 passes on 13 of them with a touchdown last season. His first since he transferred from West Virginia. So what does that mean? He transfers from West Virginia. He can't even start last year. He throws 9 passes. He was 9 for 13. That's how good he is. He couldn't even play last year. Um, they open with Nevada and at Memphis, at Iowa. Good luck there. And that's it. So they all seem to play one big game, and then the rest is in conference, which is okay. Lou Monroe, they are the worst. Bryant Vincent is in his first year. Former New Mexico offensive coordinator Bryant Vincent. New Mexico never had offense. Why would you hire this guy? Terry Bowden was the coach, Bobby Bowden's kid, and he was 10 and 26 in 3 seasons. So he gets fired, and now this new quarterback, Hunter Herring, is a junior, and he is we don't know. This team should suck. They open with UAB at Texas. That's going to be 50-point game. And they go at Auburn later. So this is a terrible team. And that is your Sun Belt. So you got a few good teams. And App State and Texas State are your 2 favorites. James Madison should be good. And then you got your question marks, Lou Lafayette maybe, and Marshall, we're not sure. And that's it. So you've got to let the games play. There's a lot of first-year head coaches, so you don't really know what you have. So we got to see what a lot, is playing, and then we can go from there. So some kind like Ohio State, I don't need to watch, and Georgia, I know. UCLA should be pretty good, as Washington, even though they lost their coaches. They should be fine. The new coaches are very good. Washington gets the Arizona coach, who is very good. Keep an eye on Oregon State, Washington State. They both lost their Oregon State lost their coach and their quarterback, and Washington State, I don't know if they lost their coach, but they did lose their quarterback. And I don't think Miami, I think that's the strangest spread is Miami 2 over Florida at Florida. I honestly don't. I'd be shocked if Miami won the game. Florida's very good at home. They've been struggling. They're still SEC players. The coach wasn't bad at Lou Lafayette. He struggled here. Again, he had Richardson, which was more of a running quarterback like Levi Lewis, who he had at Lou Lafayette. Miami, I don't see Miami being good. They're badly coached. They couldn't win with it's so bad that they had Tyler Van Dyke. They couldn't win with them, and he transfers to Wisconsin. That's how bad it is. So you get Cam Ward from Washington State, from Incarnate Ward, and you think he's not better than Van Dyke. So I don't know where you're looking at why Miami would be favored here. This is where you're stoic. You read it, Ugly Buglia is not very good at Florida State. Ward is not going to be very good at Miami. Miami is horribly coached regardless. This Cristobal has never been a good coach. Trying to figure out why he's even there. Well, because he played there. Okay, I get he played there, but he's not the man. Just a second. Okay, so I don't get Miami. See, those are the games where you're stoic. Stoic is I'm confident in what I do. I stay calm. I look at something like the Minnesota game today. Minnesota over 7.5. You got two 4 ERA pitchers. Both teams hit fairly well. Why is the spread 7.5? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. So I bet it on that reason. From a stoic standpoint, I know the teams can hit and the pitchers aren't very good, and neither are the bullpens. We should easily get over 7.5. Okay, so that's what I see. And that's the type of bet. And that's what this Florida game is. Um, how is Miami favored at Florida? Florida should be a 3-point favorite at home against Miami 100% of the time. Why is Miami favored? They're overvaluing Cam Ward. He's not that good. Um, um, so that's what the stoic is. You see something that doesn't look right, right? No, no, no. Miami should not be favored at Florida. The coach sucks. He still sucks. He didn't take a knee. That's how stupid he is. Van Dyke's gone, which means he can't coach that. And that's my point. So I agree with that. Um, I'm carrying on a conversation here. So that's how you stoically look at it. You have an idea of the game, and this is where my skill set comes in. Um, so I'm looking at the game, and I predict a score of what I think should be. I put a spread down what I think should be, and then let's see what the real spread is. And I've been doing this for so long, I have a feel for how the game's going to play out. Um, you know, like Georgia Clemson, I have a feel this will be a low scoring game. Watching other Georgia Clemson games, watching Georgia with the dominant defense, that they tend to really run the ball down your throat and, you know, and their defense just attacks and you can't do anything. And Clemson really doesn't have a good offense, but they normally have a good defense. So with that said, it should be two good defensive games. So I would think this would be a lower scoring game. Now, Beck has been really good for Georgia, and they've been scoring more. So they're not the same under they were with Stenson Benson, but we will see. So that's kind of the point, what to do. And, so that's what I'm looking at. And that's why I put my own spreads down. Now, this I'm reading, like we did Sunbelt today, is specifically to look at, yeah. Is there anything we can pick up on the Sunbelt early? Okay, Joey Aguilar. Okay, McLeod went to Texas State. Okay, those are very important points because we can kind of get a steal in week 1 or 2 with these good quarterbacks. We got new coaches. Lou Monroe sucks. So we picked up a little, but I don't think Lou Monroe was any good last year. When I look at my stats, I'll probably bear it out. So on here, I do put the defensive number from last year. So Ohio State had a 15 defense and Syracuse to 24, right? So I have an idea what they did last year, but can I use it this year? It's hard, but it's a basis for week 1 if I want to bet it or not, or I get a feel for the type of team and the type of coach they have. If the coach is still there, then I have an idea of the team. If it's a new coach, there's really not much we can do. Just wait for the coach, like a pitcher with a 0-0-0-0-0. We don't really bet them. We wait and see. Let's give them 4 or 5 games, and we can make some conclusion. And even then, we really can't. So that's really what you got to do, in my mind, is to get the feel. And it's the same thing you do with women. You see the woman and you get a feel for her right away, and it's the look and it's the action reaction, and then you kind of go from there. And that's really what you're looking at is well, okay, I've seen this before. It's not good or it's very good, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to mostly look at reaction, of the girl and how she speaks. Like Daria, I get upset when I go a week and I don't hear from her, but it's consistent. I don't like it. But Jenna, I get every day. So it's two different, it's apples and oranges. But because I've met Jenna and she's not working, she has a chance every day. And Daria, I hasn't met me and she does work. So it's a different team, right? But that's what you're trying to do. And I dated Carmen and she was really a gold digger. So I'm looking for that, but I don't really see it in the girls that they're gold diggers. We will see. But anyway, that's what we're going to be. So we will, that's what you try to see. You try to get common denominators. You try to get consistency. That's why in the NFL, I look at Kansas City. I got Mahomes and Reed and the defense and Spagnuolo. I know what I got, right? And it's always Mahomes, which is the difference between baseball and football. As we were talking, baseball, I got a different pitcher every day. Maybe, a left-handed lineup and a right-handed lineup. So it's really confusing. Where football, it's the same. I got Mahomes and their defense, and I got Joe Burrow and his team, and I got I got pretty much the teams. But when there's a change in coach or a change in quarterback or the rookie quarterbacks, you don't know. CJ Stroud, I had no idea. Richardson, I have no idea. He got hurt after 2 games. Trevor Lawrence, we see stinks. Tagliabue, we see stinks. He still can't win a big game, so we know that. Any big game, we just bet against them and they lose. They lose by like 50 points. He can't handle pressure. I don't know why every team doesn't just pressure him. We got to feel, Oakland with the new coach and no quarterback, and Denver with the new quarterback. So you're trying to get the feel, and so you want the consistency. Let's just go to Kansas City and Baltimore and Buffalo. We've got pretty much consistent coach and quarterback. So you start off looking at that, and then you start watching these other things. So anyway, that's how I analyze financial data. When I do financial data, I look at the general ledger, which is the book, which is the scorecard. And you see property taxes, 50,000 a month. So when I look at the next month, I'm expecting 50,000 in property taxes. And when 10 or I get 100, then I look into it, what's going on. And that's kind of what you're trying to do with football. You're looking for consistency in the pros and college. Okay. And then but what's getting you is all these new coaches, all these new quarterbacks, all these transfer quarterbacks, all these rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, and all the coaching changes. You get 7. For the last 5 years, 6 years, you've gotten 7, 8 new coaches in the NFL every year. And I think the owners are out of their minds. I don't think they know how to get a good coach. Look at the Lions. They keep getting new coaches with no experience. Then they get Matt Patricia from New England. Why would you get any coach from New England? And then Matt Patricia comes for 2 years and he wins 3 games. Well, what were you expecting? The guy's never coached before. Were you going to expect him to make the playoffs with the guy? So that's your problem is you have all these new coaches, and that's really what you're hoping for. And you're just you're trying to read it after. So the new coaches and the new quarterbacks, you're giving them about 4 games. So in the meantime, you're betting on Kansas City and you're betting on, San Francisco and the Rams, and you have an idea with Russell Wilson at Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, Burrow, Cleveland. We got to see who the quarterback is, but you have an idea of how the team will play, and then you look at the weaker teams. And we saw Carolina just suck last year. They'll suck this year. New England will be terrible. Atlanta with Penix will be better. With Cousins, they won't. Because you've seen Cousins at Washington, he sucked. Couldn't believe he got signed by Minnesota. Gets signed, sucks there. And now he's going to suck at Atlanta because why would he do any better? He sucked in college. Why would he be any better? So that's really the point. You're kind of wondering what it is about Kirk Cousins that he's even playing. He's not even a pro. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at all that and trying to figure out, that's how you make your analysis. So I'm skilled enough to know a good player and a bad player, a good coach and a bad coach. That's why I excel at this, because I know what I'm going to get. I think that's the problem on baseball. None of the games are on TV. I mean, I don't know any of the Tigers, right? I live in Detroit, and you would always know the Tiger players. Not only can I name any, I don't know what they look like. I don't know if they're lefty or righty. Apparently, this pitcher, Scooble, is a lefty. I have no idea. So I think the way to really bet baseball would be like I broke down Colorado at home. They got a 260 average, and on the road, they got a 220. And then I think you take it to lefty righty and you go, how do they play lefties and how do they play righties? I don't think you do day and night. I think it's more home and road, lefties and righties, and you go from there. And I think that's what you do. But even then, it's just all averages. And again, the problem with baseball is it's every day. So it's really difficult. And the quality of pitching is so bad. The quality of hitting is even worse. There's a few 300 hitters, which is a joke. They're looking at OPS instead of batting average, which is a joke. The guy hits 210, he's a bad hitter. I need a 300 hitter. And it's very few 300 hitters in the league. Give me a 300 hitter. That's all I care about. Then give me a Boog Powell who gives me 40 homers and 100 RBIs. I don't care. He can hit 240. Give me the batting, fine. I need somebody to drive in the runs. And that's the biggest problem. I don't need a guy who walks. He can't hit, and he's not going to drive in any runs. How are we going to win games without runs? So I think you look at all that. But I think in football, we've got that. We know the offense and the defense. We know the coach and the quarterback. We get a new coach. We got to figure it out and let it go and just wait to see how the coach is. See, with the Lions, I'm curious. They sucked. They were like 0-8. Then they played a real easy schedule, and then they go 7-1. So now you think the coach is good because you totally ignore the first 8 games when he sucked, and then you look at the last 7 against the weak teams and go, oh, he's a good coach. No, he's not. He sucks. He's terrible against good teams, good against weak teams. And last year was all weak teams. He played a few good teams and lost. And Baltimore, Dallas, Seattle, really. And you think, then he got lucky beating the Rams. Give him credit for that one. I don't give him credit for beating Tampa in the playoffs. And then the way he lost to the Niners, he should be fired for that one. That's the real problem is going from, he keeps going for 4th down like it's an automatic thing. That's the problem I have with him. You don't do that. It's against certain teams in certain situations, you might, like Bo used to do that on 4th and 1 against Ohio State, and it never worked. And he lost all these games against Ohio State in the 70s because he kept going on 4th down. He didn't learn his lesson. And that's the problem. Oh, if we can't gain a yard, we don't deserve to win. Well, if you kick a field goal, you get a tie. That's probably better than a loss. So anyway, that's the point. But he doesn't learn. He doesn't. Oh, San Francisco's the same as Carolina going on 4th down. Or he did it a little bit and he had success. Most of the time, it didn't mean anything. You're just kicking a field goal later anyway. But against 49ers, you don't do it. Against KC, I guarantee you do it on 4th down. Forget about it. You're not going to pick it up. Baltimore, you're not going to pick it up. Pittsburgh, you're not going to pick it up. Cleveland, you're not going to pick it up. You know, there's a handful of really good defensive teams that you don't go 4th and 2, especially with the lead, especially to kick a field goal to tie the game. And this is why he's a bad coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not been there before, so he doesn't know how to coach. Supposedly he was like an assistant to Sean Payton in New Orleans, but what did he learn? You know, I'm sure he wasn't in the meetings. He was the towel boy or whatever. So, you know, I don't think he picked up much from Sean Payton. He's not Sean Payton. Let's not forget that. See, that's the problem. The Lions should have gotten Sean Payton. Instead, they get this clown. So, yeah, everybody's excited. Well, wait. Oh, we're playing better teams this year. Okay, that's going to go back to the first year when we didn't win any of the games. And then everybody wants to say how good the players are. Well, they're not, but that's the thing. You've got to be able to break it down and see what's going on. And the fans, you know, look at them beating Carolina and Atlanta and you get all excited. Okay, who did they beat last year? Nobody. Got killed by Baltimore, lost to Seattle, lost to Green Bay and Chicago, and then and lost to Dallas, who was not very good. And then they, give them the Ram, and then they lost to Frisco, a game they should have easily won. The 24-7 lead, you can't blow that. That's bad coaching. Anyway, that's what we're looking at, and that's the idea. So you've got consistency in Georgia and Ohio State, and Michigan's all new. Notre Dame has a new offensive coordinator, and Riley Leonard is no Hartman. Tyler Van Dyke goes to Wisconsin. Well, we had a guy from SMU last year and he didn't do anything. So I don't think Wisconsin knows what they're doing with this run and shoot. I don't know why Van Dyke chose there instead of going to a better school. Cam Rising's coming back to Utah. Look out for them. They're top 5 team. So that's what you have. So you're analyzing all that. You've got to digest who has new coaches and quarterbacks. And I marked that down, and then, let's not bet those like in baseball with the 0-0-0 pitchers. Let's not play them. Let's get a feel for the players. So that's what you got to do. But it's so difficult in college with all the transfers. I mean, half these teams you got to give at least probably, I'd say, 3 games because the first game's against Division II. So you can't really even look at that. And then they play, a couple of games, hopefully against a decent team. And like Michigan last year, they never played a good team. So you never got a feel for Michigan until maybe the Penn State game. You saw them run the ball the whole time. And then the Ohio State game, they didn't look that impressive. Decent defense because they cheat. They basically play a 6-man line. And they blitz. So they can't handle a regular 4-man line. And they blitz every play. Okay. Again, the lack of TV, you don't really see the team. Or if you just watch the highlights, you don't see it. Beating Alabama was a fluke. The first pass was an interception by Alabama. And then if Milrose doesn't fumble at the 50, they go in and win the game. So Michigan got very lucky last year with a very easy schedule. So like I said, we didn't learn anything because they didn't play any team until the Penn State game. That's 12 weeks in. We're finally learning if Michigan, who they are, because they played nobody. And that's it. So you've got to look at the schedule. And that's why, like now, you got Ohio State and Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA in the league. How's USC's new defensive coordinator going to do? Well, we'll have to find out. I don't know. I don't think it's going to really matter. he can put it in. It all comes down to the players, and they don't have good players. So on defense, and they got to replace the quarterback. But it seems like his system is, anybody can quarterback it, and that's why you're overvaluing Caleb. It's not a good quarterback. It was an easy system, as you can see by Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray. When they get in against good teams and they blitz them, they don't do anything. I mean, look at Philly, lost 7 in a row. They started blitzing Hurts. Anyway, so that's what we have. Again, alligator, I don't know. So here's my thoughts on the economy. We know there's heavy inflation. We are out of the dollar because it's going down. It's a depreciating asset. That's my view. Nobody else's. I buy gold because there's no other asset to get into. I show you Rolex and the Joe Montana and the Mickey Mantle cards as alternatives of assets that are going up, not down. But I want to buy gold because I got to get out of the dollar. So that's what I've done, because there's no other option. And gold, you can't print or inflate. However, the inflation, which is the printing of the money, I don't know why it's so hard for people to grasp that concept, which makes the money worth less because you've got too much, which is why the Montana rookie card's worth $125, because there's only a few PSA 10 Montana. So it's a very limited and high demand for Montana. The Rolex is high demand. Gold, very limited, high demand, but there's no pricing mechanism. So it's just done with derivatives. So you don't know what the price is. But because the derivatives keep pounding it down, we know the value is much, much higher. So this is my own personal, with the master's in economics and finance, Austrian economics. That's my feeling on it. You got to buy the gold because the dollar's going out. As it's done, I try to bring up examples: the Roman, the French, the English, Hitler trying to bankrupt England by counterfeiting the dollars, but they decided to keep them and buy things with them. And the England did it to the France, 1795, and we know Spain went out and Amsterdam went out. So we see where it's happened before. We see it now: Venezuela, Zimbabwe. So the U.S. is different. How is it different? You got currency, you printed it to death. It's printed to death. So I don't really buy that. I don't really see where that's going to make a big play in it. A lot of the U.S. dollars will come back because now they don't need it for the pipeline or the petrodollar. You needed dollars to buy oil. Well, you don't need them anymore. So therefore, if you don't need the dollars to buy the oil, I don't want U.S. dollars. That was the only reason I had them. And I can see with the sanctions and the bullying by the U.S., I don't want anything to do with it. I'll go to a gold-backed currency, which is why that BRICS is going to happen in October. I fully believe that. Mark McGuire supports that. So when he says it, I believe it. He keeps saying it's going to be in October. My Russian guy said, yeah, I don't know what alligators seeing or doing, but that's fine. Well, anyway, that's my points. It's going to have a quick little lunch, and then I had the Chinese buffet yesterday, so I don't think I'll have Chinese today. It was weird. It was okay. You know how those Chinese buffets are. It was only $16. I went in there like a month ago, and it was like $22. And I did bitch about it. I go, this place is crazy. This is Chinese buffet. You don't charge $22. So I went there yesterday, prepared to spend $22. I was really hungry, and I was looking forward to it. And it was 16, and I was like, oh, well, 16. That's what it should be. That I don't mind, 16. Usually it was like 13, 14 for the Chinese buffet. And you get almond or sweet and sour chicken, General Chow, sesame chicken. You get all that. You get some ribs. You get some steak, and you get a couple plates of it, and you're okay. So that's where I'm at with that. So I won't get Chinese today. I do have hamburger. I'll probably cook, and I have a Die Hard 3 moment. I've got, you make sloppy joes. If you have 1 pound of meat, you use 1 pack. I have 1.5 pounds of meat because I got 3 pounds, but 2 1.5 pounders. How do I make 1.5 pounds of sloppy Joe? And I have 2 packages, but I don't need the full second package. I only need half of the second package. So I don't know if I pour it into a bowl and just divide it and say, yeah, it's close enough. What do I do with the tomato paste? It's a can per pound. So I'm really kind of like I almost need like a half pound more and just make 2 pounds of it. So maybe I'll go and do that and then make that. But I do have a pound and a half of hamburger. The British Open is on, so you can watch that. It's on till 3:30, I think, and interesting leaderboard. And it's just nice to see British golf, although the commentary's Luke Donald. Really? Why have a commentator at all if you got Luke Donald? Anyway, so that's what's going on. I'm beginning to wonder: are you a boy or a girl, Greg? John, you're calling me dear. I'm wondering now. My favorite wrestler. I don't really have. You keep asking my favorite this and my favorite that. I don't really have a lot of favorites. When I do what I do, when Montana's there, I like the Niners. When Lawrence Taylor's there, I like the Giants. I tend to like San Diego because they pass a lot. But it doesn't, I can't have one because I got to be translucent to pick whoever I should pick and not say, oh, I like the Niners. I can't bet against the Niners. I got to be able to bet against all of the teams because there's always situations. Anyway, have a real good day. I'll see you tomorrow about 11. I'll look at a little bit more of this Mark McGuire and Alligator and try to get a little bit more points. But we watched a lot of McGuire yesterday and a lot of the other Alligator, but this one's about the same. He's still confused about bricks. He still doesn't know what inflation is. I love when they want to. They're in it to teach, but they're teaching incorrect material. That's what really frustrates me. Oh, I'm trying to teach everybody. Well, you don't even know what you're talking about. You can't teach. You don't know what inflation is. All right. So have a good day, everybody. And I will talk to you soon. All right. www.teaserking.com. And again, baseball picks I'm giving out. The football picks will be a private class. So you have to pay. And then I'll do the football picks like I do the baseball picks here. But the baseball picks are free. Again, it's very hard, so they're very small. I don't mind. Football picks, yes, it's by the week, and you will pay for those to get the picks. And I'm not going to give picks for free in the free version like this. We will see. All right, and then we'll still have the teaserking.com purchase pick page where you buy the year, the month, the week, pro or college or both or whatever. So the Teaser King will still be there. It's just the class you can hear me and ask questions. All right, everybody, have a great